Hey guys, so it is the Wednesday before Conquest starts, and we are getting Admiral Trench as our reward this time for this series, and we've got the DATAMINed feats. So all of these are really helpful to just kind of go over and get your brain rolling on what kind of teams you want to use, what kind of feats you're looking at skipping depending on your roster, and just sort of plan your way through Conquest before it even starts. So before we hop in, I'm going to apologize in advance. I have to share my screen from my phone to my computer, and it is a little bit laggy, so please bear with me while I'm showing you these squads, but hopefully you're still able to get the idea. And then the other thing that we're going to do is look over the squads as usual and the feats, and I'll give you an idea on what I'm thinking of skipping based off of my own personal preference. Obviously, that's going to be dependent on your roster and what you have to skip based off how you've built things. But overall, it looks pretty decent so far. So let's have a look here. So we've got the feats. These are data mined. They came from the SWGOH events Discord server that SIG runs. So if you are not there, I would highly suggest hopping in there. There's a ton of information all the time. So these are from there. I do have them pinned in my own Discord server as well, in the HNN server. So if you're not there, you can hop in and have a look. The other thing that we've gotten from CG this time, which is fantastic, is a list of the data disks that are going to be active in this Conquest run. That is available on my server as well, and it's also pinned and it is available on the events server there too. It's also posted on the forums so that you can keep your eye on it. But the too long didn't read version of it is that we are essentially having the same discs as last time. So Fortified, Entrenched, Volatile Accelerator, no Amplify Agony still, so keep that in mind. The Ruthless discs, Zealous Ambition is still there, which is great because you're going to hear me talk about it a lot. Voluntary Vanguard is there as well, so I'm going to go over kind of disc suggestions to use for some of these teams and feats to keep in mind, as well as teams that I would look for your enemies to go against when you're doing some of these feats. So let's hop in. I'm going to go over the feats while I go over the teams because this image is pretty hard to read. I would highly suggest just grabbing it off the Discord server, and we can have a look at everything that way. So let's start with global feats. There are going to be 2 pairs in the global where you have to do one thing to get a data disk to do the second thing. Okay, so there's 2 of those. The first one is winning 20 battles with Trip 0 and BT1 in your squad. Does not say that they have to live, just says you have to win with them there. So let's keep that in mind. That will give you massively overpowered, and then you can gain massively overpowered 20 times with the data disk equipped, and that gives you the other 15 points of the feat. So you get the 1 point for winning 20 times plus the data disk, and then you get 15 points for winning with the disk equipped, or gaining that buff, with the disk equipped. The second one is that you need to win 40 battles without using a leader in the leader slot. We've done this before. I don't remember off the top of my head if we've done it 40 times, but we've had to do this feat before. That feat will give you Booming Voice, which is a great data disk. And then you can equip that and get the 15 points by attempting to call allies to assist 60 times with Booming Voice equipped. So those are the 2 pairs to keep in mind. The other 4 global feats are winning 20 times with C3PO and R2D2 in your squad. Again, they don't have to win. They just they don't have to survive. They just have to be on your squad and you get the win. So no timing out. You have to defeat at least 500 enemies. Very straightforward. Win 40 battles with a full squad of Separatist characters, and win 40 battles with a full squad of Sith characters. So there is going to be some overlap in the sectors when we hop in, but I wanted to mention all of those first so you can kind of keep them in mind when you're building your sector teams. Okay, so the first one that I want to show you up here is C3PO and R2D2 with Padme. I think they are really strong here. particularly when you have zealous ambition discs, which I'm going to preach about this entire video. I will apologize in advance. But Padme, R2-D2, Grandmaster Yoda, all support characters. They all are going to just mow people down once you've got a couple of zealous ambition discs equipped. It is a thing of beauty to behold. And you actually need to win without any attackers in your squad in Sector 4. So it's worthy to keep in mind using them here to give you an extra team to use there and double dip globally. Okay, so straightforward Separatists is Grievous Newt. I have talked about this team several times in the past. I use it every single Conquest, and they absolutely just walk through the nodes. It is a thing of beauty to behold. So that obviously is going to be your global feat team to move through. You can sub in like Droideka for Newt, Django, Watt, really any Separatist can go there. You could run a full Geo squad as well for Separatists if you've got crazy good Geos. But I personally just prefer GG Newt, and I think it's going to overlap pretty nicely with some of the feats in the sectors. And then you've got the 40 battles of Sith teams. And you'll notice for my first squad here that I'm running Malak lead. And the reason why I want to do that is because he doesn't have a leadership ability. So by doing it this way, I'm able to double dip on 40 wins without a leader in the leader slot to get that booming voice data disc, and 40 Sith wins this way. I'm just going with strong Sith. You could sub in Sith Eternal there if you wanted to. You just want to keep in mind if you don't have him in the leadership slot, it's going to be a little bit slower to build his ult. Totally doable either way though. And I just like to have multiple tanks when I've got no leader and just kind of go from there and hopefully just get the win, which is pretty clear on being able to do it. But you could run a Sith Eternal Emperor lead. I don't love running him as the leader with a full squad in Conquest, only because I find, and this is personal preference, if you're trying to be efficient and clean on your wins and 3-star as many nodes as possible, I find that Sith Eternal can be a little bit sloppy. And you'll win, you just might 2-star the node or 1-star the node or whatever the case may be. So just something to keep in mind. I personally will be going with Malak lead for, I'm going to say, pretty much all of these, and double dipping that way with the no leader win condition as well for feats. And then the last squad is combining 2 feats as well. So I've put R2-3PO, Trip 0, and BT1 on one squad because you should be able to combine those 2 feats together. And as long as you win, you're golden. Again, they don't need to survive. So if the murder droids there don't have enough gear on them, which they probably don't, I should still get credit as long as I win. If you pick up a voluntary Vanguard disc, this is going to be even smoother for you because your strongest character, so in this case I chose Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, is going to have like a permataunt on him. So as long as you're going against enemies that don't have AoEs, they will always hit the permataunting character when you have that data disc equipped. So you could use Kylo Ren, you could use Rey, basically any kind of character that you think is going to be able to solo the team that you're going against, especially if you have weaker droids that are going to die. You still need to get the win to get the credit, so you want to be able to solo the team with whoever you take with them. Jedi Master Kenobi, you could theoretically do a dash lead team in the earlier sectors, especially if you have good Zealous Ambition discs like the blue ones. He's going to be able to just wipe the enemies with those. So keep that in mind. You also want to keep in mind that if you are working on these global feats, which you probably will be if you want to get to Red Crate, because we can only skip 34 points. Since 2 of them are winning 20 battles and 2 of them are winning 40 battles, you want to get started on these right away. I personally recommend doing at least 3 of them a day per feat. So if you are doing 40 Separatist wins, 40 Sith wins, and 40 no leader wins, You want to do you want to do 3 times a day of a full Separatist squad, 3 times a day of a full Sith squad, double in the no leader there with Malik. And then I would do 3 times a day of R2C3, BT, and Trip Zero on a squad to get that ball rolling as well. So you're looking at 9 to 12, depending on how much you can push it a day of each, of total of battles for those feats. Sorry, 3 of each, but total 9 to 12, I would say. And then that way you're on pace to finish them within the first week to week and a half of Conquest. Okay, so let's look at Sector 1. So in Sector 1, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. So we still have the boss and mini boss feats that kind of contradict each other. And these 2 teams at the top I'm going to show you aren't specific to Sector 1, but they will be specific to all of the sectors going forward. But basically, they're going to make you do the mini boss and the boss feat twice, or the boss battles twice, in order to get both feats. So we do still have the no Jedi, no Sith, no unaligned Force user feats happening. Those start to happen in Sector 2. And these are the 2 teams that I do like to use for them. BAM lead with Han and Chewie, and then clone troopers with Chewie as well as the 5th. And they seem to work really well for that. But in Sector 1, the contradiction is going to be based off the faction or alignment of the tune that you need to survive. I do like using BAM, Han, and Chewie for survival feats as well. I find that I can get a lot of control, especially with Han shooting first, and then you can just sort of wipe the team from there. So, but in Sector 1, other than the bosses, you need to defeat 50 enemies with Inquisitorious units. I know, it's not the most fun, but it's there. Attempt to inflict target lock 50 times, so that's going to overlap with your Separatist wins from your globals. Gain defense up 40 times, and gain ransom 50 times. So let's have a look at this really quick in terms of teams. Obviously, Inquisitor kills. If you have a full Inquisitor team or Grand Inquisitor, you're going to use that team. Like, that is a no-brainer. You're going to be able to walk through the sector really easily, and it's going to be great. Go for it. If you don't, I would suggest, and I've used this in the past, and it's been very helpful, doing a Traya lead team with Jedi Master Luke or a tank. I prefer Jedi Master Luke just because he's very, very beefy. But you want a very strong tank with Watt so that you can give the tank tech to that tank and they're constantly taunting. And then you're going to take 2 Inquisitors with you. I like 5th Brother and 7th Sister. 5th Brother has an AoE. 7th Sister assists when he attacks. They are both support characters, so if you have Zealous Ambition discs equipped, they're going to hit a lot harder. But the reason why I like Traya lead here is if you can find a squad that attacks out of turn, like Geos, for example, they will essentially kill themselves off. They will be hitting Jedi Master Luke, and then all you have to do is go in, AoE with 5th Brother. You're probably going to kill almost all of them, and 7th Sister will assist on whichever one you're targeting, and you can rack up the kills that way. But again, if you have a full Inquisitor squad, you're obviously going to use them. Okay, so here they are again. GG Newt. You're going to get full Separatist win this way for globals. You're also going to get your target lock feat. Attempting to inflict target lock 50 times because Grievous and his droids just want to put target lock on everybody. So this is what I would go with. Again, you can sub out Newt if you want. If you want to stick Watt there. If you want to stick Droidica there. Whoever that is a Separatist to your heart's content, feel free. I just find I like the control with Newt. Okay, defense up 40 times. I've told you guys about this squad every single time that Conquest has come around. It's always going to be Clone Wars Chewie lead with 4 tanks. He gives defense up to his allies whenever they are hit, and you will get this done in 1 battle. It's never a feat that I skip because it is such an easy feat to get done. So keep that in mind. And then you have to gain ransom 50 times. The only way you can gain ransom is with Hondo. So you need him on a squad tagging along, and ransom is on his basic. So if you can take characters that can turn meter swap, such as First Order Officer or Thrawn with him, to give him more turns so that he can just keep basicking and gaining ransom, you'll be able to stack them up that way. Obviously, the key is having Hondo survive. So I would suggest, if yours is weaker, like mine is, going against a team that doesn't have AoEs, taking a tank with you, such as Jedi Master Luke with Watt to make them permanently tank, and then just kind of give all of the turns to Hondo if you can, constantly swapping and having him basic as much as possible. It is going to be a little bit grindy, most likely. I'm not going to lie to you. That's my initial thought, but it's doable as long as he gets to take some turns. Okay, so then your mini boss and boss. Mini boss, you need T3M4 to survive. So I am planning to stick him with this lovely BAM team I showed you up top, probably with Dash as the fourth option on there, and he will be able to survive because Dash will just AoE everybody to smithereens with Zealous Ambition. Because T3M4 is a support character, the other feat on the mini boss is to win without using any support units in your squad. So you basically just have to go back in, take no support units, and do the battle again. And then with the boss, you need Cad Bane to survive. And then, so again, stick him on a squad such as this BAM team up top, have him survive. And then the second half of that, the second feat on there, is to win without using any bounty hunters in your squad. So Cad Bane obviously is a bounty hunter. You have to do it again, just don't take bounty hunters. I would consider taking, since you have to do it again, do one of your global feats there, right? Like you just need to win. So take a Separatist squad, take a Sith squad, take your super powerful leader with the 4 droids, like anything that will help you tick off the global feat there, do that. Okay, so let's have a look at Sector 2. So Sector 2, we have defeating 50 enemies with Rebel fighter units. So that will be fun, but there is a good way to get that done. You need to gain health steal up 20 times. Attempt to inflict 120 thermal detonators, which is quite a lot. Gain damage immunity 20 times, and then you have your mini boss and boss, which we'll go over afterwards. So the first 2 that I'm going to show you are related to health steal up. So again, you're doing this 20 times. This first team is a ton of fun to use for it. You've got Palpatine lead, Mara Jade, Grandmaster Yoda, TIE Fighter pilot. I really just stuck whichever Empire character there that I wanted to, and Royal Guard. I didn't want to take Vader because I didn't want him to be getting a lot of the turns. But the idea here is that Palpatine will go. You can use his second special, which gives everybody on the team health steal up. So you automatically get 5. And then when Grandmaster Yoda goes, he can do his buff spread, which spreads health steal up again to all the 5 allies, assuming you have 5 alive still, and you get 10. So essentially you will be halfway done in one fight. So there is that. You could also take your Grievous droid. So I've put Droideka here instead of Newt. And the reason I've done this is you get a full Separatist team for your global feats. You get health steal up because Grievous has it on one of his specials. But you also are getting damage immunity from Droideka, and you need to do that 20 times. So having her there instead of Newt is probably the better call in terms of double dipping with your feats that way. Okay, so Rebel Fighters. You can go classic Mon Mothma lead and take your Rebel Fighters. I don't have very good Rebel Fighters geared. That being like, I don't have Scarif Rebel Pathfinder. I don't have Kara. Like, I don't have the optimal team, which is why you're seeing like requirement characters here for me. The reason I picked Cassian to go here, Obviously, I have Profundity, so he's geared. Cassian is a support unit, so if you've got Zealous Ambition, he's going to hit hard. Again, this is just defeating enemies with the Rebel Fighter units, so you don't need to win. This is a feat that you're going to be able to worry about at the end and time out on teams if you wanted to kind of preserve your stamina. If you can win, by all means, go for it and make your way through the path that way. But you can also do something with Jedi Master Luke lead. So you want to take Watt here because he's going to give the tank tech to Luke, so he's always taunting. And then you'll be able to have the other 3 Rebel fighters get your kills for you and call them to assist with Luke so that they are the ones doing the attacking, not Luke. Obviously, Watt's not going to do anything, and they will hopefully get the kills for you that way. Again, that's going to work really nicely against a squad that doesn't have an AoE, so that they can just focus on Luke while you're getting the kills with the other 3 characters. Okay, so damage immunity. Characters to keep in mind that are going to give you damage immunity or have it as part of their kits. Django obviously has it, and he could fit into your Separatist squad as well, so that would be a great option if he's geared higher than your Droideka, for example, or if you just want to make multiple teams work. Jedi Master Kenobi is obviously handing it with his special. Rey, it will happen with her own kit for once her allies dip below 50% health. So using her, you're going to get it 5 times in a battle. Mandalorian, Beskar Armor Mandalorian, he is going to hand it out to whoever you choose based off of who, when it triggers, when somebody falls below that health percentage for him, his special will hand it out. If you are going to use him to rely on handing it out, you want to keep in mind that you don't want him to go into his Whistling Bird stance because you want to be able to hand out damage immunity as many times as possible. And then Fifth Brother has it as well in his kit. That is dependent on Purge. So if the enemy he is targeting has more than 3 stacks of Purge with his special, then he is able to gain damage immunity for himself. So just to keep that in mind, it is dependent on Purge. It's not going to work necessarily if you can't get the stacks of Purge to climb. Okay. And then you need 120 thermal detonators. So this is going to be slightly annoying if you don't have Jabba. If you have Jabba, you're going to be able to get this done. You take your typical Jabba team. They're all assisting. They're all throwing thermals. You're going to be able to walk through this zone, pick up a ton of feats with it, and call it good and get these thermals. You could do Rey Jawas, though. This will help in terms of applying them because you've got Engineer, you've got Scavenger. You're going to be able to throw them out there with her. She will theoretically win the match for you. Not that you need to win, but if you're worried about making your way through the sector and you want to be as efficient as possible, something to keep in mind. And then you could also do a Bounty Hunter team. So Greedo, Zam, and Dengar are going to have thermals on their abilities that they're able to throw out. Zam is really helpful here because she not only can she throw the thermals out, but she can increase the thermals with her second special. So definitely want to keep her in mind to use. I just threw Grief there for survivability. I wanted a healer. Bosk is there to taunt. The longer you can survive, the more thermals you're going to get out there. So keep that in mind. And then you've got your mini boss and boss. So mini boss, you need Kylo Ren to survive for one of them, which very straightforward. Again, I'm going to stick them with Bam, Han, and Chewie. And then you've got Win without using any Jedi, Sith, or unaligned Force users. So clone troopers with Chewie will work. Separatists will work. The Grievous droid team, Grievous Newt. None of those are Jedi, Sith, or unaligned Force users, so you would be able to double dip there in terms of getting a full Separatist win, getting the win there, getting damage immunity, for example, for the other sector feat while you're working on the mini boss. And then for the boss, Moff Gideon has to survive for 1 feat, and then the second feat is no support units in your squad because Gideon is a support, so just win without support there. Okay. Sector 3. We're almost there, guys. We need to defeat 50 enemies with non-separatist droid units. So, pretty straightforward. Attempt to inflict blind 60 times. Also very straightforward. Win 14 battles with no support units in your squad. So, I mean, that says it all right there. And then gain master's training 50 times. So this one is back. And it's a little bit annoying. Okay, so let's look at non-separatist droids. So obviously, you're not going to be able to double dip with your separatist team here. But you can double dip some of these squads together. Sortie lead is very, very strong. You don't need her crazy high geared. You can see mine's not that high. I was using her before she was 7-star to do these feats with non-separatist droid units. You just need Zealous Ambition discs, so you want to keep that in mind. I absolutely love pairing her with IG-11 because he's a support or a healer. He's one of the two of Zealous Ambition bonuses, so he will hit harder. And then BB-8, I find, is pretty important just to get the turn meter boost going so that you go first. L3 is great, just a tank, and then I like Chupio here. And the reason I like Chupio, one, is he's going to hit really hard. He counts as a droid, obviously, but he double dips to your blind feat, so you have to attempt to inflict blind 60 times, and Chupio has an AoE blind, so you're going to be able to get your droid kills this way, especially with Zealous Ambition discs, and you're going to be able to get your blind, so that will be really beneficial. Other tunes to keep in mind that have blind: Jedi Knight Luke, 8th Brother has it. Again, 8th Brother is dependent on the purge stacks on the enemy, so keep that in mind. Omega has it, Sunfac has it, Mission has it. Again, these are all single target, so it is going to be a little bit tedious. Chupio is obviously going to be the fastest way to get it done. You could also run a full CLS Rebel squad with Chupio and droids and have them get your kills in. So if you stick R2 with them instead as well, and that will help you get your droid kills and your blind in. You could do a JTR lead with the droids, so JTR, BB-8, C-3PO, R2-D2, and Chupio. You'll get your droid kills, you'll get your blind. If you've got Zealous Ambition discs, it's even better because R2-D2 is a support unit, so he's going to be blinding or killing people like crazy with the Zealous Ambition discs. So that is that. And then you have Master's Training 50 times. This is mildly annoying. You can sort of cheese it with Supreme Leader Kylo lead or whichever lead, to be honest with you. Old Daka and Zombie, Hermit Yoda, and then take your pick at a fifth character. It could be another Night Sister, whoever you're thinking. The idea is to give Hermit Yoda's Master's Training onto Night Sister Zombie. When Zombie taunts, she's going to die and come back. Hermit Yoda gets a bonus turn because of his Zeta, so you need the Zeta on his unique for this. That resets his cooldown and gives him 100% turn meter. And then you just put Master's Training right back on Zombie. Zombie dies, Hermit Yoda goes again. Zombie dies, etc. You get the idea. It just keeps circling around. It is annoying, but it's doable. So there is that. I would go against like a mini boss with this or something like that, where you have the extra time, because those battles are 10 minutes. And that way you can try and rack up as many Master's Training as possible, and you're not wasting as many attempts worrying about this. If it is a feat that you're going to do, I would recommend, I like to do it at the end because you don't need to win, you just need to gain it. So if you die, it's fine. If you time out, it's fine. You don't need to worry about swapping discs. I just like to take care of these feats towards the end. So that's just my personal recommendation. On the mini boss, Admiral Akbar needs to survive for one. He is a support character, so the other side of it is winning without using support units in your squad. And then on the boss, you need Han Solo to survive, which is great for the Bam Han Chewie team. But then you also need to win without using any rebels in your squad. So again, double dip and make that your Separatist or Sith team on the boss there so that you can get credit for the global feat. Okay, let's look at Sector 4. You need to defeat 50 enemies with Hut Cartel units. Most of us have 1 or 2 Hut Cartel already geared, which is great. Obviously, if you have Jabba, you're laughing here. Win 14 battles with no attackers in your squad. It's perfect. I showed you this earlier, but we'll go over it again. Win at least 14 battles with a full squad of Ewoks. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be doable. I'm not actually that worried about this feat. I know a lot of people are, but I think it'll be fine, and we'll go over why I think so in a minute. And then you need to attempt to inflict torture 50 times. Still not a fan of this feat. Don't know if I will be doing it, but we'll go over it. Okay, so 50 enemies with Hut Cartel. Very, very, very straightforward in my opinion. If you have Jabba, like I said, you're laughing here. You're going to take your full Jabba team. I am using Rey in this squad as a placeholder because I don't have Jabba unlocked yet. But I would just take your full Hut Cartel team with Jabba and just roll through the sector, and you're laughing. If you wanted to double dip, you could take a Jabba squad with no attackers, which is fine. You could also take, if you don't have him, again, Traya lead against something like Geos, so they kill themselves off with Watt and Luke to tank, and then Cad and Chrysanthemum. I chose Chrysanthemum because, again, he's a tank, so he's no attackers. Cad Bane is support, so no attacker. He is Hut Cartel. And if you have Zealous Ambition discs equipped, he is going to hit hard. So if you can get him to get your kills, or Chrysanthemum, one of those two, you're going to get those 50 kills that way. So just things to keep in mind. Again, no attackers in your squad, so you could do that Traya lead like I showed you. You could also do this Padme team like I showed you earlier with C-3PO and R2-D2 on it, and that will double dip to your global feat of needing to win with R2 and Trip Zero, or R2 and C-3PO, sorry, on your squad. Again, Zealous Ambition discs are going to make this really smooth because they're going to hit a lot harder. Okay. Full Ewoks. So your typical team, Chirpa, Wicket, Ewok Elder, Logray, and Paplu, right? The great thing about this, and the reason why I'm not too worried about it, is 3 of these Ewoks, Chirpa, Elder, and Logray, I believe, are either healer or support. So if you have Zealous Ambition discs equipped, they are all going to hit a lot harder than what you are thinking they will do. And if you can get the turn meter train rolling, so if you've got some decent mods on them, you might need to mod swap. Winning 14 times seems like it's going to be doable if you absolutely have to do it. So just keep it in mind. And then you've got torture 50 times. So the only 2 characters who can inflict torture are Grand Inquisitor and Trip Zero. If you don't have Grand Inquisitor, I'm going to tell you right now, you should probably just skip this feat. Because it's going to be annoying to do with only Trip Zero. If you have both, it's probably still going to be annoying to do. So totally up to you on whether or not you want to do it. It's not going to double dip into other feats in this sector. The Trip Zero one will obviously double dip for your global feat of needing him in your squad with BT1. But other than that, you need Trip Zero to survive to inflict torture. And if he doesn't survive, then you're not inflicting it and you're not going to get it. I personally think it's going to be too tedious. So just, that's my 2 cents. Keep it in mind. The mini boss, you are going to win with Kanan and Ezra surviving. And then the flip side of it is winning without Jedi, Sith, unaligned Force users, etc. So I'm just going to pair them with Bam, Han, and Chewie, or Dash, Han, and Chewie, and have them AoE before Kanan and Ezra die. If you don't have that option, you could also do a Jedi Knight Luke lead or Jedi Knight Revan lead and stick them there. Jedi Knight Revan would be key on the team, whether you use him as the leader or Jedi Knight Luke as the leader, to have his savior trigger if you have weaker Ezra and Kanan characters. But I like Jedi Knight Luke lead because of his leadership special that everyone gets. Everyone gets to assist. He gets to take a turn. Everyone heals, so you're able to keep them alive. So keep that in mind. And then the boss win with Sauna surviving. So again, if you can stick her on a team where she just gets to hang out and they all take the turns, like Bam Han Chewie, Dash Han Chewie, anything like that, and she survives, perfect. And then she is an attacker, so the other side is to win without using attackers. Pretty straightforward. Okay, guys, one sector left. We're just going to go to sector 5, and then I will tell you the feats that I personally am thinking about skipping, and we'll be done. Okay. You need to defeat 50 enemies with smuggler units. Straightforward. Attempt to inflict purge 300 times. This is going to be doable even if you have low gear Inquisitors. I'm going to tell you right now, this will be doable. And it's worth 15 points, so I would not skip this, even if your Inquisitors are not geared. You need to evade at least 100 attacks in battles that you win, so that's going to be straightforward as you're going through the sector. And then attempt to inflict fracture 40 times. Mildly annoying because your only option is Thrawn. So, defeating enemies with smuggler units. I'm going to take a full smuggler team, personally. Dash, Han, Chewie, Vandor, Nest. Doesn't really matter who your last two are. If you've got the Zealous Ambition disc, though, equipped, multiple of them at least, Dash is going to be absolutely wrecking teams with his AoE. Han and Chewie are great here because you're going to get guard, and you're going to get them on you're going to get guard on 2 characters, Han being one of them, and then whoever your weakest character is on the team as well will get it from Chewie there. It's going to give you a little bit more survivability, so you can really make your way through the node and get some more kills. So that's great. Vandor is great for any revives. If you can take a tank with them so that Vandor can kind of hide from the enemy, I would do that. I stuck Nest there just because I have her geared. But if you have like L3 or someone like that, that would be great too, because Vandor can hide and revive your team so that you can 3-star it. But pretty straightforward. Han's obviously going to give you a lot of control since he'll shoot first. You can shoot and stun the quote-unquote scary enemy and then make your way from there and get some kills. Purge 300 times. Obviously, if you have Grand Inquisitor, you're going to do a Grand Inquisitor team. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but you're going to be able to get it that way. If you don't, you can do something like Emperor Palpatine lead with Kylo Ren as a tank, or just a tank in general, to kind of, you want a pre-taunting tank. This is key. So Kylo Ren, Sith Eternal, or Sith Empire Trooper, sorry. Something that taunts for you to take any initial onslaught. And then you would take 3 Inquisitors. Again, I like 5th because of his AoE, and 7th because she assists. They're both support characters, so they're going to hit even harder. And then you have, I like to take 9 Sister just to have another taunt, essentially. And she can also dispel the purge. The key with this team is you're going to want a volatile accelerator data disk. The reason why you're going to want a volatile accelerator data disk is because the more debuffs that get out there, including the dots from volatile accelerator, and purge will count as a debuff as well, you are feeding turn meter to your team. So you're essentially just going to go and take turns nonstop and kill them. Or sorry, you might not even kill them, but you're going to be able to get purge out there. What I would recommend is doing this feat at the end if you are going to go with this strategy, because I would probably take all of my damage dealing discs off. So I would take Zealous Ambition off. I would take your Ruthless Offense off, that kind of stuff. And I would just make my characters survivable. Slap some Entrenched on there, and just have them survive and go against a team like Phoenix or Padme, like something that just regenerates their protection stuff, that you're not going to chew through them very quickly, but you are going to be able to repeatedly inflict purge over and over and over again, that you'll get a ton of purge in one battle that way. So that is an option. Another option is if you happen to find a Jedi team, that would be a team that is gaining bonus turn meter. If there's characters on there that are going to give them bonus turn meter or anything like that. If you take 9th Sister lead, and then I just like taking Luke SWAT and armorer with him. Again, I would do this at the end. It doesn't matter what happens. Ninth Sister can die. It does not matter. Because of her leadership, whenever the enemies gain bonus turn meter, if they're Jedi, there's a 40% chance that they will inflict purge on themselves. And that will count towards your feat. So again, even if you have a Gear 8 Ninth Sister, as long as you have her leadership activated and everything, you are good to go. And it will work. So that is that in terms of purge. And then fracture. Obviously, you need Thrawn. I would take First Order officer with him. Anyone that can turn meter swap, basically. Just to give him as many turns as possible. It's not going to be fun, I don't think, but it will be doable. So again, you have to do it attempt to do it 40 times for 15 points. So the faster you can get him turns, and just keep getting your turn meter train going. You could even stick him with a Palpatine lead, especially if you have that volatile accelerator disc, to get the turn meter train going with the debuffs and just constantly run around the enemy and have Thrawn take turns and keep fracturing. Like, that would be perfect. And you can go from there. Okay, and then mini boss, you need to win with Darth Revan surviving, who obviously is a Sith, which means you have to win without Jedi, Sith, or Force users. And then the boss, Darth Vader, needs to survive. So again, you're going to do no Jedi, Sith, or Force users. And then Jedi, Sith, Force users, again, I would try if you can make Grievous Newt work, because that will double dip to your Separatist wins for your global feats. So that's what I would do personally. But that is pretty much all of the teams that I've roughly compiled. And obviously, if you have different suggestions, I would 100% go for them. This is just what is working off the top of my head. But let's talk about feats to skip, because if you are going for Red Crate, you have to get 630 points, which means you can only skip 34. And to be honest with you, I would skip at least 3 that are in Sector 4. And they are worth 10 points, the feats in Sector 4. One of them is worth 4, but Torture does not sound like it's going to be a lot of fun, even with Grand Inquisitor. If I happen to freakishly get this with Grand Inquisitor, I mean, great. I'm not going to chase it, though, if I don't need to. Because in my opinion, 50 times is a lot. You might be able to do it on the Datacron node if you're farming the Datacrons and get it done. But I personally would skip it. So that's 10 points skipped. I would probably also skip the Ewok feat, just out of like sheer willpower and not wanting to bang my head against the right squad or not farm Datacrons or whatever it is. And again, that's 10 points that you're skipping. And then depending on how the boss is and what the modifier is on the boss, winning with Sana surviving. Mine is only 3-star Gear 6 or something like that. So her surviving kind of seems iffy at the moment for me personally. So I would skip that, and that's 4 points. So I'm already at 24 points skipped, and you can skip 34. And then the other one I would probably consider skipping in Sector 3 is the Master's Training, gaining it 50 times. I just personally wouldn't want to cheese it if I didn't have to. And that would put me at 34 exactly, which means that you have to go perfect on every node if you're skipping that many feats. So something to keep in mind while you're planning. Obviously, if you are going to skip other feats because of whatever reason that you feel like your roster can't do those feats, then you need to adjust what you're not skipping to still hit that 630 benchmark if you're going for Red Crate. But other than that, that's basically it. Hopefully this is helpful. Like I said, look at what the feats are and automatically cross off what you know you cannot do, whether it's you don't have a character or all of the characters in that faction are only Gear 1 and you're not going to gear them, or whatever the reason may be. cross those off, see what your max is in terms of points that you can achieve. And if you're still above that 630 mark, that gives you an idea of getting red crate and how many points you can skip elsewhere for your feats. So that is that's it, guys. Hopefully this was helpful. I'm sorry it was so long, but hopefully this works, and good luck on Conquest on Monday.